Tonight in our Just a Reminder episode is a very important reminder to me and you about our purpose in this dunya. So I will be narrating a hadith which is in Bukhari and Muslim. And before I narrate the hadith, subhanallah, I want you to know how great is our deen. In Islam, your status, your wealth, your name, your health does not mean anything. Your color, your race does not mean anything. The closest to Allah is the one with the most taqwa, with the most piety. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the narrator of the hadith is Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. And I want you to live this hadith with me. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw Bilal one day, our beloved Bilal radiallahu anhu, and he said, Ya Bilal, tell me about the most hopeful act that you have done since you accepted Islam. What is the most rewarding act, Ya Bilal, that you have done since you accepted Islam? What do you think it is? Because I heard the sound of your steps. I heard the sound of the steps of your shoes in Jannah. So it means you are in Jannah, Ya Bilal. What is that amal that you have done, Ya Bilal, that, or you think that you have done, that led you to be in Jannah? And before I continue, look at this. That's why I started about the greatness of this deen. Subhanallah, Bilal, a slave. The Prophet of this ummah saw him in his dream. Allahu Akbar. Look at how humbling is that, how beautiful is that. Subhanallah. You know, there's no difference in our deen. Oh, you know, this guy is a slave, this guy is black, this guy is white, this guy is this. No. It's all about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Ya Bilal, what is that act you think that you might have done that might, or that led you to be in the Jannah? So Bilal radiallahu anh, he said, I do not consider any act more hopeful than that whenever I made wudu, I performed immediately 2 rak'ahs for as long as was destined for me to perform. Or I performed salat as long as was destined for me to perform, day and night. Subhanallah, subhanallah. So Bilal thinks, or Bilal said, that the most hopeful act I have ever done is that every time I break my wudu, I make wudu, and I pray 2 rak'ahs after wudu. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. My brothers and sisters, subhanallah. If I was Bilal, or if you were Bilal radiallahu anhu, you would say, Ya Rasulullah, you know the most hopeful act? I was tortured in Mecca. I was put on boiling sand. Rocks were put on top of me. And I kept on saying, Ahad, Ahad, Ahad. It must be this act. He did not mention, Ya Rasulullah, my jihad, my umrah, my salat on time, my fasting. Ya Rasulullah, maybe because I'm the muezzin. I am the first muezzin in Islam. He did not mention any of that, my brothers and sisters. Allahu Akbar. He said maybe because every time I make wudu, I perform salat. That may be the reason why, Ya Rasulullah, you heard my footsteps in Jannah. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah, my brothers and sisters, the question that poses itself to me, wallahi, to me first, and to all of us, is what is the most hopeful act that me and you have done? What is it? I want every single one of us to ask themselves this question. Or imagine Rasulullah ﷺ is asking me or asking you, what is the most hopeful act that you have done? What would the answer be? What would my answer and what would your answer be? Is there something to mention? And don't say like, my salat on time or my fasting in Ramadan. Obviously, Bilal used to do all that and he never mentioned it. These are fard. These are an obligation on every Muslim. We have to do them. And if you noticed, Bilal radiallahu anhu mentioned the nafil, mentioned an optional ibadah. It's not a must to pray 2 rak'ah or 4 rak'ah or whatever after wudu. This is optional. If you do it, Allahu Akbar, it's great. But if you don't do it, you're not going to be punished. And he mentioned that act. So what is it? The most rewarding act that you have done? Is it like I have sponsored an orphan and no one knows about it till they finished college? I have taken a portion of my income on a monthly basis and dedicated it to poor families. I have been consistent on 2 rak'ahs of tahajjud every single night. I fasted the 3 white days, the 3 middle days of the Hijri month for years. I was extremely obedient to my parents. One time, a man, his father became in his late 80s and he cannot move anymore. And the father always asks the son to take him to the masjid to pray the salawat. And you could imagine that the son is very busy, but every time the father asks him to take him to the masjid, he put him on his back and he take him to the masjid to pray. It was like maybe 300-400 feet away from his home. And the father has Alzheimer. He does not remember anything. He does not even remember his son. He does not know his son. So he did that for 6 years. For 6 years. And then one time, one of the people of the masjid, he said, Subhanallah, for 6 years you've been bringing your father to the salat on your back, every salat, and he has no idea who you are? You know what the son said? He said, even though he does not know who am I, but I know who he is. Allahu Akbar. Being good to the parents, subhanallah, in every aspect is a amal that opens the doors of Jannah also. So what is that amal that you can be so happy, so proud, I cannot wait to tell Allah about it, even though Allah is all the alim, right? What is that amal? Is it that you were striving to spread this deen? Some of us, the only thing I do is, wallahi, I send a message to remind the people of Salat on Rasulullah ﷺ every Friday. I send a message to remind the people to make dua on the last hour in Jum'ah. I send a message or I send an email to remind the people of the importance of Fajr in congregation. What is it? Is there anything that you could be proudly saying that I used to do that all the time consistently? What is it? Is there something? There was a man, an old man that our Sheikh saw in Mecca. Very old man, and he saw a lot of young men around him. So he came to one of those young men and he said, who's this guy? He said, this is our Sheikh. He said, MashaAllah, How old is he? He said he's in his 90s. He said, subhanallah. So the student, one of those guys told the sheikh, he said, you know what's so special about this sheikh? He said, in our country, and he named his country, all the shuyukh were targeted by the government. And there was no permission to spread the deen. So what this sheikh used to do, he used to travel at night from one village to another. He used to travel at night from one village to another. He sits and he stays in that village for 4 or 5 months in a hidden place, in a basement, in a hidden place to teach its children the deen. And then when they started getting firm in their deen, he moves to another village. For the sake of Allah, he did not ask for anything. Subhanallah. His concern about the deen, his concern about the deen, even though he is at that age, he was doing something. He was doing something for this deen. He was investing for his akhirah. What is it that me and you have done that we can stand in front of Allah? Or if Rasulullah ﷺ asked us this question that he asked Bilal, we can be very happily saying it. So my brothers and sisters, let's think of something that we can do that only between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And do it on a regular basis, no matter how big or how small it is. Don't always think about big stuff, because Bilal did not mention big stuff. He did not mention big stuff. He mentioned those few rak'ahs that he does after wudu. Because we always think about big. I have to invest millions of dollars. I have to build masajid. These are all great. But the sincerity, the ikhlas in the amal, and the consistency in the amal, that is what elevate our status in the sight of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our last deeds our best deeds. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our last words La ilaha illallah. I love you all for the sake of Allah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.